Hello again all, this is Eatmopie, and this is the Mogu'Shan Vault looking for raid Faceroll. So they started heroic 25-man raiding today, raid testing of a few bosses, and they opened up looking for raid again. So I thought I'd get in here because I really don't want to spoil everything for myself by testing every single raid encounter. I just don't. I know it's part of the job as being a beta tester is to test everything. But I know me as a player that will spoil it for me. So here's a quick looking for raid. It's the first 3 bosses of Mogu'Shan Vaults. That's the way that they're going to break it up. It's going to be 3 and 3, I believe. And yeah, this is actually pretty fun. You'll see this is a decent group. One thing you might want to notice is DPS is low. And that is because they scale all of our gear down to 463, which is heroic 5-man level. You know, this is as if you would first come in here after, you know, farming heroics for a week or a few days, however often you play, of having a full set of heroic gear. Obviously, they're only doing this gear adjustment for testing purposes. They want to scale this, they want to tune this to that, you know, fresh out of heroic 5-mans into, you know, your start of raiding. Now this Quailin trash is really simple. You need 2 tanks. One tank's the big enraged one far away from the group, and the other one tanks all the adds. You just AoE them. It would be better if everybody killed the enraged one first, I believe, because it does do a fair amount of damage to the tank. Another thing is, you can see they have a little shield debuff and they're taking very minimal damage. I think that's just because they're not far enough away from the enraged one. I'm not 100% sure on that mechanic, but I believe that's what it is. Okay, so if your group pulls both packs of these Quailin, the lion stone dog things, in looking for raid, you'll be alright, as long as your healers are on top of things. In normal mode, this is a wipe. 100% you're gonna wipe. These Quailin, stone dog, lion things, they hit hard. They hit the tanks pretty hard. And your ass is grass if you pull both groups. So try not to do that. Another thing you might notice is the absurd amount of damage the Hunter and the Warlock are doing, and I think that has something to do with dots not being affected by the shield that these Quailin have from being too close to the red ones or being too close together. Whatever it is that's giving them that buff that makes them, you know, not take a lot of damage is not affecting the Serpent Sting dot, and it's not affecting something that the Warlock is doing as well. So it's just a bug, and that's gonna be adjusted. You're not, I mean, you will see 150,000 DPS AoE fights, but you're not going to see it with this gear level, and you're not going to see it on these packs of mobs when they have that debuff. So it's just a bug. I believe, anyway. I can't say 100%, but I think that is just a bug. Or else it's bullshit and overpowered. Okay, the Stone Guardians. Now in Raidfinder and in 10-man, you're going to have 3 of the 4. Normal mode 25, you have all 4, and you need to adjust your strategy. But they all, you can pause it or you can look at it as I scroll through here. I'm not going to go over every single ability. Each one has a different ability, and they all will, one at a time, randomly will begin to cast petrification, and you'll see a little energy bar, and it'll tell you as a little emote thing that so and so is beginning petrification or casting petrification or something along those lines, and that's what you have to watch out for. That one needs to be close to another one. So one tank is going to tank one on the far side. Nobody attacks that one, because when it's away from the other ones, it's going to have that 90% reduced damage. The other 2, one of them has to be the one that's casting the petrification, because when it's close to another one, it's going to stop it from gaining that petrification energy. but it is going to gain regular energy. So you have to be aware of that, because once one of these fills up with energy, it's going to use its big AoE ability, and it's going to hit everybody in the raid for like 110,000 damage. 114,000. You can see I just got hit with one of their explosions. I mean, in Raidfinder it's not that bad. In normal mode, if 2 of those go off at a time, it's a wipe. So you really have to be aware. The tanks, this is all about the tanks right here. This fight is a pure tank fight. It's very similar to an Omnitron. So you may have noticed that the entire raid was petrified, and that's because the off tank failed a little bit and didn't taunt the correct mob in the beginning, and the other tank, I think, just gave up. So yeah, we had a little bit of tank issues here, and for some reason I didn't get in as a tank. I always queue as a tank and a DPS, and I got the DPS. So that's rare, but anyway, like I said, this is a tank fight, and the tanks need to be aware and do the right thing here. Because if they don't, they're gonna wipe the raid. So you might have saw I rolled back and forth a couple of times in the last clip, just to see how much the little debuff or buff or whatever you want to call it that they get is. Thinking of strategies in my head for when I actually do raid this in my guild, and yeah, I thought maybe if we had the DPS we could just pull them all together and zerg it, and I don't think that's going to be possible anymore. It was when they first came out with this encounter, but now I don't see that happening. You're going to have to do the mechanics properly, and the tanks are they're just going to have to pay attention. So this is an easy fight though. It's just don't stand in the purple stuff, pay attention to who's doing what, and you know, if one of them is starting to use their ability, it tells you. You can see it. There's a little emote and a icon that pop up in chat. And I don't have deadly boss mods or anything yet. I know they're available, but they're always buggy, and it just wasn't worth it. So, but that'll be helpful as well in live. Okay, you'll notice that the Amethyst one is casting Petrification now. And you can see his little bar there, and it's moving very slowly because he's near the other Quillian. That's a hard word. It's almost as hard as Amethyst. Amethyst. Anyway. Yeah. Also, you're going to see, because they're close together, and they've been close together for so long, like I said, we're face rolling this. Most of these people don't know the mechanics. I've never DPS'd this fight, so yeah, I've never DPS'd this fight, and I'm learning the mechanics as a DPS. But you'll see their energy is going up very quickly. The energy bar actually underneath their, their picture or whatever you want to call that there, because they've been close together for so long. And they're both going to explode at the same time, and that's that huge AoE. It hits the entire raid. There's no avoiding it. You can use things like Diffuse Magic or Zen Meditation or Bubble or whatever you want to use to, oh shit button. But we take 200,000+ damage attacks back to back in quick succession. And if you do that in normal mode, you're freaking dead. That's the bottom line. You just wipe the raid. So you really do have to be aware of the energy that they're gaining, especially as a tank, and also you want to pay attention to the petrification bar that pops up. Now he gets to like 70% and then it cancels, and somebody else is going to start casting it. So that's when the tanks are going to have to switch. Now, as you might have saw, that was an excellent tank swap. Yes, they did it right. That was perfect. That was great execution. The main tank, who has 2, taunted the one that he needed to, and the other tank taunted one of the other ones. It didn't matter which. Generally, you want to take the one with the highest amount of energy. That's something the tanks will have to pay attention to. But yeah, that was an excellent tank swap. They did it right. So that's what it should look like. Now, as you may have noticed, these do all share the same health pool, so killing one kills them all. And yeah, we've all done fights like this before. Like I said, it's Omnitron, only bigger and better. And we got him! Alright. And as you noticed, I got one of my legendary quest items. You get, you need 10 from Mogu'Shan Vaults, and you need 10 from the Heart of Fear, I believe. As well as the Reputation, which I got in like 15 minutes. It was really, really easy. Because Brewmasters are friggin' amazing, and I could just AoE literally like 50 mobs at a time. But, in my secret spot. Anyway, so yeah, looking for raid loot now just decides if you want, if your player gets loot first of all, and then it decides what you get. So you don't get one of those items from every single boss. It just, you know, you basically got to get lucky. But it's nice that you can get them in looking for raid. You can also get them in normal and heroic modes, obviously. But you can get them in looking for raid, and that's nice. That's gonna, it basically doubles your chances every week of getting some, because you know, the weapons that you do get from that, I imagine, are going to be very, very nice. And then, you know, it's going to continue to tier up as more patches come. You know, patch 5.1 and the next rating tier, they're going to add to the quest to eventually give you a legendary. And that's awesome. So there's some trash. I'm going to skip the trash. It's not very exciting. Okay, Fang the Accursed. Fang. I don't know. I can't speak. I can't talk. I can't read. I don't know what's going on today, but I am having some serious issues. But anyway, this boss is fairly straightforward. The tank needs to kite him around the outside of the room. Everybody else that is not melee needs to be far away from him. Is like, I want to say the opposite side of the center of the room. Obviously, you have to be in range, but you want to be pretty much max range, because he does some attacks that will do interrupts, and you know, if you're a caster, it's just gonna screw you over. This is a heavy caster DPS fight. The more you have, the better, because a lot of his attacks are AoE surrounding him. So if you're far enough away, you can outrange a lot of those attacks and continue to attacking, whereas melee have to get the freak out of his AoE zone. When he gets to 95%, he's going to start his elemental type phase, where he does lightning bolts and things like that. And he'll also do an earthquake type ability, and melee have to get out of that because it'll do somewhere around 40 or 50,000 damage per tick. And if you take too many of those, you're dead. Now also, you have to be fairly far away because this does interrupt your casting. From what it seems like, it interrupts your casting. So you have to be max range, and you have to be aware of that. When he gets to 66%, he's going to run over to a different statue, and everybody just needs to be aware of the position change and adjust accordingly. He's going to start his fire phase. He does AoE fire around him. He's going to cast fireballs at random people, and you just have to be aware and be ready for some serious melee damage, because melee are going to take some damage. Healers just need to be aware of it. And the real hard, well, the fun part, the exciting part, the part that will wipe you many times once you get into harder modes other than looking for raid. This shouldn't wipe you in looking for raid, but his arcane phase, when he gets to 33%, he's going to cast a debuff called Arcane Resonance, I believe, on a random party member, and I think it's 2 in a 25-man, and that is going to do a retarded AoE around that person for 10 or 15 seconds. I don't remember which, but it's a while, and it's enough that it will kill absolutely every single person if they take like 3 or 4 ticks of it. So that person that gets a debuff better get the freak out of there. Now, we didn't wipe on that with the Raidfinder, but when I tested this in normal, and I did actually, I think I tested this in heroic. This is one of the few that I have done a bunch of times. But yeah, he is just, it is a badass debuff, and it will kill everybody. I think the we had a boomkin that got it one time, and or no, it was the tank, and he was a bear tank, and so everybody had to get away from the tank, and he did like, I think 4.5 million friendly fire damage or something like that in the 5 seconds that it took to wipe the entire raid, because everybody was too close to him. We just didn't understand the mechanics, so you do have to be aware. And then the final phase, he does like a little enrage thing, and you just have to watch out for that. You're gonna have to use raid cooldowns. You'll see him building up his abilities, so you know, time out your Zen meditations. You know, work it out with your raid. Looking for raid, it's totally different. Looking for raid is a Faceroll, but and that's what it's meant to be. But normal modes and heroic modes, you're gonna have to really time out your cooldown usage, especially if you have, you know, raid-wide cooldowns like Zen meditation. So you'll notice that these tanks are tanking him in the middle, and that is absolutely the opposite of what you want to do. Because of all the AoEs that happen around him, you want to keep him to the edges. Wherever he runs to go and get his next buff is where he should be tanked, facing away from the raid, because I believe he has a cleave with his big ass polearm. And yeah, this is another one that the tanks just didn't quite get the mechanics, as I said before, but it's causing a whole lot more damage to the raid than is needed. But at least you can see all the mechanics clearly because of them being in the middle. Now obviously some of these mechanics you can avoid, like that giant fire AoE, but he does leave little fire patches on the ground, and you can avoid those, which I aptly demonstrate how to not do very soon when I die standing in fire, because I was trying to use cooldowns, and yeah, whatever. My bad. I messed up. Looking for raid, Faceroll, whatever. So we did actually manage to kill him finally. I wasn't part of that because I died standing in the fire like a bad DPS. But I just ran out of cooldowns. I don't know if we didn't have enough raid healing, or you know, if we just, I don't know, maybe we didn't have enough DPS. But either way, I sat there for a solid 3 minutes while they finished off the last 10% and was dead, not helping at all, like a bad raider. But whatever. Now, I didn't get any loot this time. Everybody gets a share of the gold, though. You get it in a little satchel. And there's chances for other things to be in there, I believe, you know, like gems or items. I'm not 100% sure. But you got to share the gold, and that's it. Moving on, there's some trash here, and I'm not really going to show that. It takes a while to get through this trash. Okay, we're going to call this guy Gara the Spirit Binder because I can't pronounce his full name. And he has a boatload of abilities. There's just a lot of things that happen in this fight. And you'll see I don't do a single one of them. Because, yeah, the last time I did, I made some mistakes. And it's just easier for ranged to go into the spirit world. Now you'll see he sets up totems. And he'll set up, basically you click on the totems and it'll take you to the spirit world. You'll get a 30-second debuff. You have to kill the ads that are inside of the spirit world very, very quickly, and you have to get out of the spirit world before that 30-second debuff has ended, or you will instantly die. It's bad, so you don't want to die. You don't come back from that unless you have, you know, a quick res or a battle res, whatever. You're done. So you don't want that to happen. Now he will randomly teleport people to the spirit world, so you have to kill those ads fast, or else they will continue to spawn and stack up, and everybody that gets teleported there will have no chance at all of survival. They're just going to get owned by all the ads. So that is one mechanic that needs to be managed. Yeah, that's the tough one. Now you don't need a tank inside the spirit world. You don't even need a healer because you can kick the cast. All the ads in there do is cast shadow bolts or spirit bolts or whatever they're called. They look like shadow bolts, and they hit hard. They hit for like 70,000 a hit, but you can cancel them. So if you get, I think there's 4 or 5 of them to start. They're just normal elite mobs. So they're easy to kill. I think they have a million health or something along those lines. So you get 4 or 5 people go in and kick all the casts and just destroy them quickly and get out within 30 seconds. You're going to be so much better off. But yeah, anyway, that's one thing that he does. Another thing is he will randomly select 5 players and turn them into voodoo dolls. And then they share damage. So if he turns the tank into a voodoo doll, all of those players are going to take that damage. The other players that he turned into voodoo dolls. And he does pick the tank. He always picks the freaking tank. It's random, but it just seems that way. It's very annoying. Now another thing he does is he will banish people, and he can banish the tank. And you'll see that at the end of the fight, he banishes the tank. And then I am next on threat, so I freaking get owned by it within 4 seconds of his melee attacks. So yeah, that's bad. You have to be aware of that, and you do need 2 tanks on this just to be safe. Just to be safe, you should use 2 tanks. I believe we only used 1 here, and that was not safe because there is a chance that he will banish the tank, and that is very, very bad. Yeah, I really don't want to hear it. I know that DPS that are dead can't DPS, and I died on 2 out of the 3 bosses, but whatever. Stuff happens. It's looking for raid. This is how we do it. It's the freaking Catalina Wine Mixer. Now the last thing you need to be aware of is he will frenzy at 30%, give or take, and you're going to need some tank cooldowns for that because he hits pretty freaking hard when that starts happening. On top of continuing all his other abilities. So how long does it take for my DPS to go from number 1 to down on the bottom while I'm sitting here dead because of boss melee attacks? Not very long. But anyway, that is it. That is Faceroll, Raidfinder, Mogu'Shan Vaults. This is Eatmopie. I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see ya. This video is part of the Way movement. Learn more at tgn.tv.